idea. Have you ever seen those videos where they take the aluminum foil and they roll it up into a ball and they hammer it on all sides and then they sand it down and polish it and it's this magical sphere? Well, a while back I was thinking about how I could possibly make a fencing sword without actually forging one. Like, I don't have any of the materials, and I came up with this idea. Now, I don't think it'll work for a fencing sword, but I do think it will work for a dagger. Maybe. So this video is mostly an experiment where we use aluminum foil to form a rather large blade-ish shape, and then we're going to hammer it down and sand it and see if we can make a blade. Now, I don't expect this blade to actually function. I just want it to be a prop. So let's begin by opening this aluminum foil. So my basic plan is to unroll as much as I can and try to make it in a really much bigger shape than we want to end up with, because as if I am understanding it correctly, basically we just compress and compress and compress and compress and then sand. So we need to start big. Let's do it. So we have a giant foil dagger here, and I'm just gonna like press on it a lot and try and compress it with my hands as much as possible and try to maintain that dagger shape the whole time. So that's what we're gonna be doing for a while. And this is just number one, dagger number one. I think it's time to use a hammer. I'm gonna do some more hammering and I'll see you guys in a little bit. Okay. We need to start over, and here's why. I'm starting to see it become really dense and do exactly what I'm hoping it will do. See? You see that really starting to solidify there? But it's not gonna get any slimmer. It needs to be like tall, slim, and short. So that's what we're gonna do when we unroll a ton of foil this time. By the way, is there something I can do with this foil so I don't waste it? Can I take it to a recycling facility? Anybody know? Please leave a comment. Okay, this is the exact length that I want it. Like maybe an inch bigger. Okay. Yeah, that looks right to me. This time we're going with a much smaller amount of foil and in a smaller shape. And now we're going to compress it with our hands first. What I'm doing right now is going around the edges and smishing the edges down towards the middle, like this, and then rounding it off and compressing it. All right, so we have a very dense and thin hammered thing. And like, see, it's pretty dense. Can't squeeze it. So I think we're ready to start sanding it. So it's a new day and we are ready to continue sanding the blade. Let's get to it. I got a little progress update here. You can see that the sanding is working in some spots, but not in others. Right there, you can see that it's working really well, but right next to it, it's not. So like, good, not good. And the reason this is not working is because pieces keep just flying off like that. And then it's got to be sanded again. So like the middle right here is having a very hard time being sanded. And I think that's because the most compressed parts were the end and the sides. So when we make our second blade, I have a better idea of how to do this. But let's see if we can't get this one to a more finished point. All right. My hands are like, my wrist hurts. My fingers are tingling, my neck hurts. Guys, sanding can be intense. But basically, we have sanded this down quite a bit. I don't know if you can really see the difference that well on the camera, but there definitely is a difference. Let me see if I can focus on the blade. Now, this is our first big test, really, like that we invested some time into. So I'm going to polish it, and then we are going to start test number 2, blade number 2, and I have a much better idea of what to do with the second blade, because this one, I feel like there's a lot of real estate right here, a lot of sanding to do. It needs to be a lot shorter and a lot more compact on all points of the blade. So I think I have to be a little bit more strategic about the way that I crunch up the foil in the first place. In my little beaker here, I have lemon juice and baking soda mixed together. And then I have my rag, and we are going to polish it with that. Pretty shiny. Okay, I guess it's time to get started with blade number 2. I think this is our best blade yet, especially for a dagger. It's a little bit wibbly wobbly, but this is a prop dagger anyways. The edges are a little bit wobbly still, but I think it's just gonna be that way. So the way that I did this one is I twisted the foil instead of scrunching it. So I think maybe that's a better method for what we're trying to do. So this is the point we are at. I think the beginning part where you scrunch the aluminum together is really important, and I haven't figured it out yet. So there you can see a lot better what's going on here. We're gonna go ahead and make the hilt for this blade. I am going to be making the hilt out of skewers, actually. So final thoughts are that I feel like this could be perfected. I tried 3 times, and there were a lot of things that I tried off camera because I thought it would be pretty boring if you saw me try 5 different ways of sanding it. I showed you some of them. The blade that we ended up with is kind of wibbly wobbly a little bit. I mean, it's nice and flexible, which is similar to a fencing blade, but not similar to a dagger. Obviously, I don't think this is ever going to be functional. This method will never create a functional dagger, but I do think that if I tried like 3 more times, I might be able to create one that looks legitimate for like a really nice cosplay or something like that. But as of right now, I would probably only use this if I was like going to a costume party and I needed a really small butter knife looking dagger for my costume. So just for comparison, for a fun comparison here, this is how much foil I thought it would take. This is how big it is. So yeah, this is way too much foil. The amount of foil that I used was not even a roll of foil. This is an entire roll of foil. It's almost the size of a boogie board. Then our second attempt here, way too big. It ended up being almost the size of a short sword, so definitely not what I was looking for. Also, I couldn't get it to come to a point. It's very rounded. But I couldn't get this to sand down. The way that I compressed the foil for this experiment, it started peeling off in big chunks. So that's why whenever I did this one, I compressed it a lot differently, and I was able to bring it to a much nicer finish, but not as nice of a finish as I was hoping for. It definitely still looks pitted and a little bit flaky. So I think I would probably try this method again. Overall, I think this experiment was probably a success in that I did get it to come to a dagger-like, or more like a butter knife shape, but I'm calling it a dagger. So I think that this is not exactly the best, but I just wanted to see if it was possible. And I definitely think it's possible. I think it would just take several more tries. So with that, please enjoy some final shots of our butter knife dagger. Thanks for watching this week's crafting video, and I'll see you in the next one.